All right, what is going on, guys? I recently did a little bit of experimenting with a different distro, so needless to say, I came back to PikaOS pretty fast. I chose PikaOS for a reason. I've been wanting to make a video sooner than this, but unfortunately, I was really, I was really like that. You could hear it in my last video. Um, I was coming down with something. I was already like at the tipping point there. And turns out I was coming down with the flu. Got the flu, and I was really sick. I can't even ever remember being that sick. Like I swear to God, dude, I was out of commission for like 8 days. It was crazy. Like I'd rather have COVID, I think, than whatever the hell that was. But so I'm here again, and I'm setting up PicoOS. I just did a fresh install of it, and I figured I would take the chance here to show what I do to configure PikaOS, give you a look at what it looks like by default, and maybe give you a little bit of an appreciation of how much theming I do here. I have taken some shortcuts here. I do have like my fast fetch configuration and stuff set off to the side, and 90% of my games are downloaded on other drives and stuff, so I pretty much just have to get PikaOS set up and get everything installed that I need to get installed, and we're going to go through that today. Over some of the extensions I use on GNOME. Is it GNOME or is it GNOME? I don't even know, actually. So if you hear me waffle back and forth, it's because I keep hearing people say it different ways. And so, like, in my brain, sometimes I'm thinking GNOME and sometimes I'm thinking GNOME, like garden gnome. I mean, to me, that would kind of make the most sense. Just, I don't know why the G's got to be unsilent, but anybody who knows the proper pronunciation who wants to inform me in the comments, please do. I'll be happy to start saying it the correct way. I'm just not sure, and I probably will say it both ways. Um, I noticed that on my last video, and I was kind of like going through it. I was like, damn, I said it both different ways there, but but I am feeling better, so let's just get right back into it here. I have done nothing. The only thing I have done here is I've installed OBS, which conveniently there's an option here right up in the little PikaOS welcome thing here. And if this looks familiar to you, if you've used Nobara or anything like that, if this looks familiar, um, it should, because Cosmo, who does a lot of the GUI apps for Nobara, is one of the primary developers, or is the primary developer. I don't know, there's a couple, but I'm not too sure who started it, or I think it might have been Cosmo who started this distro. Um, Please, nobody kill me if I'm incorrect about that, but you know, but I do know that at the very least he is one of the major contributors to PicoOS. He may be the original like founder. Um, I'm just not too sure on that. I'll have to ask in their Discord just so I have a clear idea. Um, but he does a lot of stuff. I know that they just very recently came out with a new device manager, which is kind of replaced the PikaOS driver manager, which I'll be going over that too. And it's really cool because it makes NVIDIA so simple on Linux, like NVIDIA installing NVIDIA drivers like on just like a raw distribution like Fedora or like Fedora Workstation or Raw Arch or whatever is a very involved process, especially if you're like a Windows native person and you're used to the way Windows does drivers. It can be very fucking complicated, um, at least to me, to a guy like me, right? So I really appreciate tools like this where it's very simple. It's all automated. I don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z. I just, do my thing here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the updates here. Looks like we got 33 APT updates. So we're just going to go ahead and run this. It's also crazy, like, I was actually using Nobara, and I like Nobara. It's a cool distro. Their updater sucks though. It really does, especially in comparison to PicoOS. PicoOS is just so much faster. Like just getting it set up and getting the ball rolling and being ready to game is just so much quicker. Um, Nomura is actually having an issue right now with their updater and in NVIDIA. You know, a little hiccup they're having where if you have an NVIDIA GPU um, and you start the updater, because you know you have to update when you first install, after you first install, what it basically winds up doing is it like it gets stuck in a loop, and the only way you can get out of the loop is to uninstall, use the Nobara driver manager, and you have to uninstall the NVIDIA driver, and then you have to run the updater, let it update all the packages, and then you use the device or the driver manager to reinstall the NVIDIA driver, and then you got to run the updater again. And if you don't do it exactly like that, then you just get stuck in a loop where the updater keeps prompting you to reboot, and it just starts over. And you know, and it took me like 45 minutes to get Nobara like up and running just because of like how long the updater takes and the fact that I did it like 4 times before I realized something was wrong. And you know, yeah, they're update like all props to GE, man, and GE does some like amazing stuff for the Linux community, and Nobara is a great distro, but their updater really sucks. Like just the way it's just it's not a very smooth, polished experience. Even when it's working 100% correctly, it takes a long time to do what it needs to do. Um, and you don't deal with that on PikaOS. You know, we're already done here. I've been sitting here talking. PikaOS is up to date. Close that. And like everything you need's right here, you know. Um, a lot of stuff doesn't come pre-installed. Yes. Oh, great. It's because I hit it twice. Oh, there we go. Nice. And everything's right here. Like it, you know, a lot of stuff doesn't come pre-installed. This utility just basically like installs everything you need, gaming-wise. All the gaming utilities, all part of the gaming packages that you know PikaOS offers. It's pretty great. You see here the theming we got going on. We got the birds in the background and shit. Got the cat pretending to be a bird and you can't really see it because everything's in the way. I'm not a big fan of the color scheming. It just doesn't really go with my vibe. They do really have some awesome artwork, though. You know, there's no denying that. And then here's that new device manager I was talking about. This is brand new here, and it's got, you know, it lists everything, pretty much like anything that could have a driver. Um, it lists, you know, tells you if it's active. You can change some. Um, but this is the one I want. You know, VGA compatible controllers. Video Corporation, GeForce RTX 4080 Super, and then we've got the available device profiles. It's got a very simplistic open source, latest open source Linux with official open modules, blah blah blah. NVIDIA graphics drivers latest for Linux closed, indicating closed source kernels. Then you've got the state, and then you got the Mesa versions installed alongside it. Then you go down here and you got the advanced profile, and this shows specific drivers. You know, we've got the 570 open source kernel modules pre-installed, so I don't need to update the NVIDIA drivers at all. I would have done that before I started recording anyway, but I didn't have to because the ISOs currently on have the latest stuff by default. So we're all good. And this just makes it really simple. Like, you hit it down, I can remove it, or I can install it, you know. I could go and roll back to the 565 drivers if I wanted to, stuff like that. It's all really simple and streamlined. It's not something you really have to worry about. And that's cool. So then we got the kernel manager. I'm not really going to mess with this right now. This you can use this to swap out for different kernel versions. I'm just going to go with what's currently the default. It also lets you change the CPU scheduler if you want to do that. They have a few of them available. They believe they use Bohr by default, which is a pretty good one. So then we're going to come over here to recommended editions, and then we've got the full suite of stuff here. We got the install the PikaOS gaming utilities, which we're going to do obviously. This is going to install Steam and a bunch of other stuff we need for gaming. Man, got a buddy of mine laughing at me right now. He's like, "Dude, you spend more time configuring operating systems than you do actually playing games on your PC." And he's not wrong. It's I waffle back and forth so much, and in the past, especially like with Windows and Linux, spent a long time like just ping-ponging back and forth because I was having bad experience on Linux, but I'm also always having a bad experience on Windows. So it's like I couldn't. And I guess I was kind of looking to give course in the mouse with PikaOS, and I was like, let me go try out Nobara. And Nobara is actually working pretty good. There's just a couple things about it that I'm not crazy about, and nothing about it that's so great that I'm just like, oh man, I need to switch to this full time. So I'm back on PikaOS because Pika has been good to me, better to me than any other distro, honestly. So that's what we're gonna roll with, man. We're not gonna. I'm actually finally making the switch to Wayland too, which has been a painful one. I know it needs to happen, and really the only thing holding me back on Wayland is um, some graphical issues with big picture mode, um, because I use big picture mode, and there are some graphical problems that creep up with NVIDIA GPUs. But now I'm kind of also having like a choppiness problem with X11 on big picture mode, so it's like I'm kind of damned if I do, damned if I don't. At least I have figured out a way to kind of like resolve the graphical issues on the fly when they do pop up. So I'm just going to deal with the Wayland stuff, and we're going to switch to Wayland full time, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. The only other thing from Wayland I really miss, or from X11 that I miss, is desktop input works on X11. It doesn't really work that well on Wayland in most distributions because you get prompted with like this remote desktop access thing, and it's just annoying and kind of defeats the purpose because in order to turn it on, essentially you have to grab your keyboard and mouse. So, you know, not that I really use my controller that much on my desktop, but I do like having this couch gaming setup. I do like having the option of not necessarily needing to have my keyboard and my mouse like right on hand, to do stuff. I can use the controller, which, I mean, I spend a lot of time with a mouse and keyboard right next to me anyway, so I guess it's really not that big of a deal at the end of the day. And actually, Wayland desktop input doesn't work at all on PikaOS because it doesn't work on Debian. Upstream Debian is missing something or something that's making it not work. So I just can't use it at all on Wayland, under Wayland and PikaOS, which, like I said, I'm not going to install all this stuff. But I am going to install the Office fonts. I'm going to install the LibreOffice suite just in case I Need to I do do some emails and stuff for work, so having the ability to draft up a document isn't a bad thing. Fuck, I'm tired. Curse of working for a living. I didn't even work today. I'm still tired. Of course, I was up at 7 a.m. and it's currently 10:41, so we're hitting the 16 hours of awake mark. Alright, so everything else is installed. Pin that dash. Unpin that. Unpin that. Unpin that. Unpin that. Now it's just a matter of getting everything logged in and getting my extensions set up. Turn that on for right now. Turn this on. Enable dash to dock. Launch Steam so it'll update and do everything it needs to do. Look at the cat pretending to be a chicken. Desktop. Install a few flat packs there. Sign into Steam. Not even gonna set up Steam right now. Not right this second anyway. I'm gonna be focused on pin that to dock. Oh, what else are we gonna pin here? Like drawing a blank right now. I'm gonna pause the stream here for just a moment. Okay, just need that information out there. Themes, enable. There we go. Oh, for fuck's sake. Minimize that. Desktop is a third-party Discord client. It's just what I use because I find it to be the best third-party one. Alright, so what else we got here? As you can see, they got a bunch of different artwork here. It's pretty cool stuff. Not what I'm going to be using, but it's pretty good. Reddit. Let's see. Manage my It's always a struggle to get this like exactly the way I want it. Well, leads me into my next thing. Get our terminal installed here. Alright, so basically all of that was just me installing things that I was installing my terminal of choice, and then I was installing ImageMagick, which is going to let me display images on Fast Fetch, and then I was installing Fast Fetch, and then I was getting Fast Fetch to generate a config so I can just swap those out. And since we're getting to that time, let's make sure everything's mounting properly. So we're going to edit mount options. This is another reason I like GNOME. GNOME's disks is way better than the KDE partition manager. Like getting auto mounting set up is much less hands-on. I do know how to do it in KDE, but it's kind of a foreign concept to a Windows user. Like having to set up auto mounting in the first place is kind of a weird concept. Because on Windows, if it's compatible, it mounts automatically, you know. We're gonna add that. And no, we're not going to be keeping these desktop icons, but I do need the desktop icons temporarily. Because I'm going to use the Decky desktop installer to install Decky. And in order to have that actually work, I do need to have the functionality of desktop icons. Don't ask me why. It will not work. Just moving it to the desktop in the file manager and trying to open it that way. It has to physically be on the desktop. I don't understand why, but. Alright, so we've got auto mounting set up. Got all our drives mounted. Here's my so we're gonna go to config. We're just gonna overwrite that with that. That'll save me a lot of time. And we're gonna go over here to PikaOS. Actually, I'm gonna go to where I sent it to my buddy because I know that's a PNG. Here's my little custom fast fetch logo for PikaOS. We're just gonna move it there. Rename it to that. We're going to cut that. We're going to move it here. Now, ugh. that. We got nice transparency going on here. Last but not least, blur my shell, applications. And there we go. Fast fetch. And now we got that nice custom fast fetch going on here. Just a little bit of Linux nerd drip, you know. Alright, so now that that's set up, Decky. Drop that in here. Alright, that should be good then. Turn off our desktop icons. Let's see. That looks good. Pin Steam. This there. Okay. Guess we'll get Steam set up. Disable this because it doesn't do shit for NVIDIA. Enable compatibility tools so we can run Windows games via Proton. got that. Added my other drives to Steam, so now Steam's going to pick up all those games I have installed. I'm going to go ahead and get my controller connected. So we're about to switch over to big picture mode. Let's see. Got this shit all out of order. I don't know what's going on. It's like this on Aura too. We're just gonna install some plugins here. Now this is stuff for the Steam Deck actually, but you can use it on other Linux distributions, and it does. A lot of it does, especially the cosmetic stuff, does work with big picture mode. Some of this other stuff works too, like Wine Cellar. I'm going to be using that to download Proton GE. Let's see. Just need Proton database. Probably scrolling right past this shit. There it is. Alright. I always forget one. Always. Somebody was asking on the last video, like, where the background music came from. Oh, shit. Forgot to enable starting in big picture mode. There you go, that's how it's going to boot up from now on. And this is what I mean about the Wayland NVIDIA issues. Big picture mode. That resolves it. And it goes away on its own too. It's weird. It's a weird problem. It's just a nuisance, but it's alright. I guess I'd rather deal with that occasionally than choppy intro videos and stuff like I was on X11. Plus with with the shift of focus to Wayland, we're starting to see better performance in Wayland than you do on X11, just because packages and stuff are geared towards Wayland now. Wayland is pretty much the future of Linux on PC. Like X11 is becoming deprecated, and we're already starting to see that. Like with KDE's like actually split the code base pretty recently, where like now like KWin, like default KWin is just Wayland, and then there's like KWin X11 or KWin XORG, or whatever the hell they're calling it. That's like a separate optional thing, and it's because they're starting to move away from Wayland. Hopefully this Steam isolated issue with NVIDIA gets ironed out at some point. I actually should make a post on the developer thread about it, on their NVIDIA's developer forum, just to like kind of light a fire under their ass about it, because that's kind of what you got to do with NVIDIA to get things done. You gotta like make posts in their forums and stuff and have it get attention, NVIDIA's getting there. It's really getting there. Like, people like to rag on NVIDIA on Linux, like Linux users in general, and they're kind of right to a point, But it's not like it used to be, And it used to be a couple years ago, NVIDIA was just really bad on Linux. Like, just if you had an NVIDIA GPU, you were literally just better off with Windows. And now that isn't quite the case. You will still generally have better gaming performance on Windows, but the gap is no longer like so skewed that it just doesn't make sense to be on Linux. You you can absolutely have a good time gaming on Linux with NVIDIA, you know, provided you're using a good distro. I think one of the reasons why PikaOS is so good on NVIDIA is like one of the main contributors of PikaOS, like mainlines an NVIDIA GPU. So like, I guess, you know, to him, keeping a sharp and focused NVIDIA experience on Linux is an important thing. So, whereas a lot of other distributions, you know, the developers themselves kind of rag on NVIDIA half the time. So it's kind of a refreshing change of attitude. And as you can see, we have completely changed the theme here. Yeah, what else do I need to do here? Not much. Pretty much done. As far as theming and setup goes. Gotta tweak a couple things. Power settings. Disable this stuff. Ooh, I guess I could go ahead and... We're not dual booting, so... They use Refind for the boot manager. Here, Refind. This way, Refind will not pop up at all. Not a big fan of... I don't know. I don't like how, like... They cloud the Steam logo with this one. Shit. Take a look here. Appearance. I don't like that either. for me. I really just didn't like the yellow there for some reason. Alright, so yeah. Everything is set up. Well, that's it, guys. That's all I got for tonight. I hope you liked the video. Hope you liked me showing how I get this theme going here. I tried to nail it down as quickly as possible here. It does take some time. Obviously, I've done this shit a lot, so I definitely can expedite the process. But now I've got, my Linux setup is pretty much 100% back. A lot of the time-consuming parts just downloading games, which I didn't really have to do. It's kind of the benefits of distro hopping. But alright, I will see y'all later.